Action!
Welcome to the Positive Sports Podcast. I'll be your host this evening, Ed Montana. Alongside me today, fresh back from another vacation.
Fuck.
Damn, bro, I need your job. My brother Alex. Alex, how you doing?
Happy to be back.
On vacay again.
Yeah, it was much needed, man. This time, it was a little bit of twist to this vacation, though. There was a big twist. Usually it's just my wife, the kids, my wife's sisters, their kids, husband, spouse. I had a special guest on this vacation, man.
Oh, yeah?
I had a special guest.
Who?
Not your how can I put it? She fit in. She was able to fit in, but you would think, but she stood out.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I was able to abduct my 73-year-old mother.
72. Don't
72?
say 73.
Okay, 72. About to be 73.
Well, yeah, but that's not how women work, you know?
Yeah, man, I was able to take mom along for the ride. She was a trooper, man.
Obviously,
I'll give it to her.
Obviously, at that age, and just in general, our parents have never been the going out type of vacation. They just haven't done it very much, and obviously with Dad being a little bit slower to move around now, it's even worse. But I had a great time when you were on vacation too, because I went over and hung out with Dad and just crashed over there for 2 nights. He was like, well, you don't need to stay if you don't want to. And I was like, shit, this is great. I don't have to deal with anything in my house. I could just hang out here. Because I love Mom to death. But Mom's a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes. Because she loves spending time with us all the time. But sometimes it's like a guy thing, right? Like if we're watching fights, she doesn't need to be inserting herself in there. Just let us watch the goddamn fights, right?
Well, she doesn't want to be left out.
She doesn't want to be left out, right? She just doesn't understand. Sometimes it's okay to let the guys watch the fight. But then she's like, do you want some coffee? No, I want you to get the hell out of the way so I can watch the fight. So it was nice from that perspective to be able to hang out with Dad and just shoot the breeze. And
this is not good. So I've called Mom old. You've called Mom name.
I haven't called any names.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You're going to hell, bro. Yo, you better hope Mom doesn't see this tomorrow.
She likes me more than she likes you anyway.
Well, not after this show.
She likes me more than she likes you anyway.
I had Mom drinking out of a pail. I mean, it must have probably been a quart size mixed drink.
She mentioned that you got her a bucket of booze.
Yeah, it was a bucket, man. It was like about a quart size, right?
What was it?
Oh, I don't know. Listen. I was looking out after my mom, but she was in great hands with my wife and sister-in-laws because I think they had more fun with my mom, and my mom had more fun with them than I did.
Story of your life.
Yeah, exactly. And so, in one day, she consumed 1 bottle of beer, a shot, and a mixed drink.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know. And I was like,
Dude, she's 72. You almost killed her.
I know. I was like, oh, fuck. I need to, really pay attention now to make sure she's okay. And I'm constantly asking her if she's okay. And she's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm good. And, this. I'm like, all right, that's fine. She thought I was, really scared for her, which I really was inside. But she had fun, though.
She did text me about the bucket of booze.
Did she?
And then she texted me that she was going to bed, and I was like, it's 8 o'clock, you're on vacation, go have fun. She's like, I already had fun. I'm getting a shower and going to bed. I was like, all right, you crazy woman, you. A bucket of booze, and you got to be in bed by 8:30.
Hey, man, things catch up a little quicker when you get a little bit older.
Now, see, with Dad, we didn't have to do any of that stuff. Dad and I stayed up really freaking late watching all kinds of sports. He's got that, whatever it's called, some box.
Little box.
He's got more freaking channels than he knows what to do with.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking channels.
So we started flipping around, and I think he got on an Italian channel or some shit. And then we were watching a bike race from Italy from 2 months ago. And it was like the Tour de France, only it was in Italy. So it's like stage 6. The Tour de France is 21 stages. Well, the Italy one is 21 stages as well. They call it the Giro d'Italia. And we were watching stage 6. And, we flip to it and like, oh, look at those guys have a big lead or whatever. We kind of start talking about it a little bit. After we spout off all of our knowledge in the next 30 seconds about cycling, he leaves it on there. We ended up watching the whole fucking thing.
Jeez.
And I'm like, all right, Dad, this is what you want to watch. I mean, he was just fascinated by it.
He's having a ball with that box.
I bet. It was a good time.
Probably shouldn't call it the box, but it's a cable box.
It's a cable box.
For those,
people.
get your mind out of the gutter, please.
Yeah, people. Come on. So you ready to talk sports?
I'm ready to talk sports. Where are we starting? You want to start with? Yeah, what do you want to start with?
Well, I'd like to start with baseball, and I'd like to talk about the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I have not watched all of the acceptance speeches or whatnot, but just to go over this year's class, they inducted them last night. Harold Baines, Lee Smith, Edgar Martinez, Mike Mussina, Mariano Rivera, and the late Roy Halladay. What a fantastic class of people. I thought it was really cool the way it worked out that Lee Smith and Mariano Rivera went in together. Even though I think a lot of times people will be like, yeah, but Mariano was the best and Lee Smith was just a good
right.
or whatever. But if you think about it, Lee Smith was the first, right? He was the original closer. Like, that role really wasn't defined until Lee Smith came along. And then to have the greatest closer of all time in Mariano Rivera there, I just thought that was neat. Harold Baines, who's strictly a DH. Edgar Martinez, who was mostly a DH. So you had four guys there that were inducted that were kind of specialty players. Mm-hmm. Mike Mussina, who was very good for a long time as well, and the late Roy Halladay, which I think it's always kind of special when someone who's passed away gets in, just because it's, I don't know, like, you know how it goes, right? No one says anything bad about dead people, so it's just a nice celebration of his life, specifically his baseball career, of course, and his wife gave a touching commentary. Mm-hmm. But it's just neat. And maybe I'm biased because I'm a baseball fan, but I love the Hall of Fame ceremonies and those six guys getting in. I thought it was just a neat representation kind of what baseball is today. It didn't make me feel terribly old. Like sometimes, if someone gets in from 1960, I'm like, I feel like an old man now. I don't understand it. But these guys are all from kind of my era, so to speak, and it was just really neat. 55,000 people showed up to watch it, which is amazing to me that many people showed up. But I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it, but I even forgot who made the Hall of Fame. But I'm a baseball fan too, but the Hall of Fame to me, I don't know what to think about it anymore. What does it validate at this point? I don't know. Does Tim Raines really need to be in the Hall of Fame? I mean, he had a long career. That's why his numbers maybe are a little inflated. Was Mike Mussina really a Hall of Fame pitcher? I don't think a lot of people really say Mike Mussina is a Hall of Fame pitcher. Or when he played, I don't think a lot of people, at least I didn't, people say, man, one day he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Roy Halladay, I think people said that, won 2 Cy Youngs in the American and National, perfect game in the NLDS against the Cardinals, a no-hitter on his resume. I don't know, like, what... I don't know. I'm not in the same boat. I think there's more controversy in the Hall of Fame. Like, who gets in at this point? Anybody? Or are we just going to leave people out? And
well, here's the thing. The game has changed so much especially over the last 20 or 30 years, right? So having Lee Smith and Mariano Rivera there really kind of shows the evolution of the game, because the closer is such an important part of the game now, whereas obviously 20, 30 years ago, he wasn't. And Mussina getting in, and even Halladay to a certain extent, also shows you the change in the game, because they don't have the same ridiculous numbers that pitchers had 20, 30 years ago to get in. Because the game has evolved, especially from a pitching perspective. The game has changed a lot. Excuse me. There's something in my throat.
Need a cough drop?
I think so.
Hotty toddy?
I'm sure everyone loves hearing that on the podcast. But anyway, the game has changed so much from a pitching perspective, and it's going to change even further, right? As we get away from starters and have what we call openers now, right? The game's going to continue to change. It's going to be harder to get to 250 wins for a starting pitcher. Closers will have a more narrowly defined role. Lee Smith had a number of saves where he went more than one inning. Now you don't have it. Mariano Rivera had far fewer. And so it shows the evolution of the game. I guess that's part of why I like it. To me, it's controversial the day the announcement comes out. Mm-hmm. But once you get to the day of the actual ceremony, to me, it's just a celebration of those guys. And I love the memories that it conjures up of when they were good and what they did. Obviously Mariano Rivera with all the postseason appearances and all that. So I enjoyed it. I enjoy that celebration of achievement.
But I mean, but again, it goes back to what is the Hall of Fame? What are the credentials to get into the Hall of Fame? I mean, yeah, we can celebrate every single player and have every single player get in, but what are the credentials? Because before it's, it was this 300 wins for a pitcher or 500 home runs for a hitter, and now it's just because you play, I feel like this is what's happening. We're leaving out, all these steroid players or players that got mentioned in this Mitchell report, and we're just, it's almost as Major League Baseball is telling these players, you're not going to get in, so we're just going to, because you did this or your name is mentioned in this, and we're just going to let whoever in now. It doesn't matter if you don't have 300 home runs, 400 home runs. A guy that's played 23 seasons and, hasn't even led the league in anything. Tim Raines hasn't led the league in nothing. Harold Baines hasn't led the majors in nothing in his 23-year career.
But he played 23 years. There's something there, right? To be able to play at that level for that long makes you kind of unique. Does it? I'm not saying it automatically makes you a Hall of Famer, but there's something to be said for a guy who played 23 seasons at that level. And he wasn't a scrub, right? He it's not like he was a journeyman for 23 years. He was, he was a hell of a ball player. I get your point. I'm not saying you're wrong, and there is no right or wrong here. This is obviously opinion and conjecture, but there's something to be said for what he did. People make the same argument with Edgar Martinez, who was made his career primarily as a DH.
But he was a great hitter. The guy was a great hitter.
Right, but to be fair,
nobody thinks of Harold Baines as a great hitter.
Hold on a second. But to be fair, and you played baseball, he played half the game. That makes a difference.
Okay.
Right? That makes a big difference when you don't have to go out in the field in July and it's 100 degrees and you're draining yourself fielding as well as hitting. So you could kind of make the same argument about Edgar Martinez. And as far as numbers go, I get your point, but I think you're going to have to adjust the way you look at numbers going forward. Because it's, again, and more so with pitchers than with hitters, because of the way the game has changed from a pitching perspective, you're going to see different numbers.
Right.
We had the same argument last year in the winter about the Cy Young and how Jacob deGrom, with 10 wins, which is unheard of before, deserved to win the Cy Young. And that's because the game has changed in such a way that it doesn't work out the same. So I think you have to adjust your numerical focus.
We can go back and look at a bunch of players that had long 15, 17-year careers, and they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but they don't have the numbers to really be in there.
But isn't the Hall of Fame just about taking the top, 1% of a certain era? Isn't that really what it boils down to? There's always going to be one guy that you're like, well, was he really top 1%, like Mike Mussina in this case, or maybe even Harold Baines? But you look at the era that they came from, and you say, well, was he? You know, there's hitters from the 50s and 60s that are in the Hall of Fame that don't have gaudy numbers because back then the mound was 2 feet high. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but see, that's why I'm sorry, the Hall of Fame doesn't really validate much to me at this point because, I mean, they're letting anybody in and they're not letting everybody in.
They're not letting anybody.
Yes, they are. They're letting anybody in and they're not letting everybody in.
Well, pull up the voting from this year's and let's see who got left out.
Well, hold on. I want to see this guy's numbers because
Who?
Harold Baines, yeah.
Tell me about it when you find it. Look, I still think.
I mean, you're gonna tell me that he should be in the Hall of Fame before.
Careful.
Before, let's see.
Careful.
Barry Bonds?
Well, yeah.
Why? Barry Bonds didn't get caught.
Yeah, but we know.
Do we know?
Yeah.
How do we know?
We know.
How do we know?
I mean,
how do we know? Because if you take,
he is admitted to not knowingly taking steroids.
If you take Barry Bonds pre-San Francisco Giants, he was already having a Hall of Fame career.
See,
his career with the Pirates alone was better than Harold Baines. That alone was better than Harold Baines.
Harold Baines got in through the Veterans Committee. I didn't know that.
Pete Rose had a better career.
Pete Rose banned from baseball.
Well, as a manager, he cheated. As a manager, he didn't cheat as a player.
But he's banned from baseball.
Again, if you're just going to let anybody in, then you should let everybody in.
But they're not letting just anybody
Yes, they are. They are letting anybody in at this point. Why did it take Lee Smith so long to get in?
He got in through the Veterans Committee as well.
I mean, why did it take him so long to get in?
Personally, I think because, again, they're looking at a numbers thing, and he was the first of the closers.
Okay, so if it's a numbers thing, like you just said, then I mean, you have to look at all these other people that did not get accused of steroids,
and all these other people that you're saying should get in have a serious dark cloud over them, right? Like Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and Pete Rose is banned from baseball, so he's not eligible to be on the ballot.
They're scared to let Pete Rose in because once they open up that gate,
he's never getting in.
Then it's gonna allow for other. See, I could really care less about the Hall of Fame because
he ever gets in.
No, because baseball has it against him, plain and simple.
Well, to be fair,
they have it against him.
No, look, he's been a dick. It's not a
when was he a dick,
dude? You haven't heard the stories?
No, when was he a dick?
You haven't heard the stories?
How far back was he a dick?
You haven't heard the stories of him camped out down the street from Cooperstown?
When?
I don't know exactly when. Years ago.
What's years ago? 10 years ago?
Maybe.
Well, then
maybe 5 years ago.
Well,
but he's been a dick to baseball. I mean, since he got banned, he's been a dick on multiple occasions. Right? It's like the guy that cheats on his wife and then smacks her around. Well, she's not going to forgive him for cheating.
Well, I mean, he didn't do that. He cheated on baseball.
No, but you get my analogy.
No, but it's not the same. You can't compare both.
It is the same. My analogy is you can't do something wrong and then spit in the eye of the organization and expect them to forgive you.
Well, I think, it's a two-way street. Baseball has done it to him, and okay, if you want to say he's been a dick to baseball, he's been a dick to baseball.
But baseball, Alex, he did something against the rules. Okay. Baseball banned him.
Okay.
He continues to be a dick to baseball. You can't expect baseball to say, okay, well, now we'll let you in.
Okay, well, has Barry Bonds cheated?
No, hold on.
Has Barry Bonds cheated?
Well, by all accounts, he has.
How? Unknowingly. He hasn't caught. He hasn't gotten caught.
He's admitted to unknowingly taking steroids.
He has not gotten caught.
He doesn't need to get caught. It's by his own admission.
Okay, well, Pete Rose admitted to cheating to baseball. Pete Rose admitted cheating to baseball.
Okay.
I mean, so
they're
in
the same boat.
Okay, look, I'm done with talking about the Hall of Fame. I think the Hall of Fame is not valid. I don't care who the hell gets in at this point because everybody gets in. Everybody gets in. It's stupid. I mean, nobody, when Harold Baines was playing, nobody was freaking saying, oh, this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. They're just fucking letting people in, and it's just retarded. There's no validation. The Hall of Fame and baseball need to really, really get together and say, okay, this is what you need to have to get in the Hall of Fame. Year by year, adjust how many wins you need to have, how many home runs you need to have. It's just stupid. I can't vouch for any of these guys. Maybe 3 or 4 of them, but I mean, the rest, they to me, they don't. I don't know. The fucking Hall of Fame sucks. That's all I gotta say. It's stupid.
I think that's an overstatement, but
it's stupid.
But
you're not letting some players in. There's players that have not been caught cheating. Their names have only been associated with steroids, and they're not getting in because of that.
Well, but that's the way it works, right? And the Hall of Fame is not a...
It's stupid.
It's not a right. It's a privilege. And some,
So you can be average and be. So you don't have to be. So you don't. Hold on.
Average.
So you don't have to be great. You just have to be average.
No, hold on. Harold Baines and Mike Mussina were not average ball players.
Yes, they were. They were average ball players. Mike Mussina benefited from being on those Yankees teams. He was an average. He was an average pitcher. Mariano Rivera was there to do one job, and he was great at his one job.
But didn't he, to a certain extent, benefit from being on a good team?
It's different. Mariano Rivera
from being on a good team, I think, is a
Mariano Rivera went on the mound with the lead, and he protected that lead. His job was to get 3 outs, and he did that every single time that he went on, that he got the opportunity to close. And then in the postseason, what he did in the postseason was even more magnificent. So
Mike Mussina, in an era where more and more we started using closers and middle relievers and all that jazz, 270 wins. That's a lot of freaking wins.
But during his era,
hold on a second. We're not gonna. Well, there's no.
During his era,
how many 300 game winners are there in his era?
Go check. I bet you there's 2 or 3,
and they're in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, but he doesn't have 300 wins.
But he's in an era where increasingly they've been using middle relievers and closers.
No.
And he's got 270 wins. We're not going to see.
No,
we're not going to see. We're not going to see 270 wins. I would almost dare to say we're not going to see 270 again.
During Mike Mussina's era, there was not closers. It was not. No. The starters were going deep into games in his era when he played.
In 2008, 2007, 2006, they were going deep?
Yes, they were. Absolutely.
No.
Yes. That just started maybe 10 years ago.
No, it started before.
No.
Lee Smith is
that's not the only time he pitched. Look at the other time he pitched.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. He's
okay. I mean, don't start from there. Start from the very front.
Look at his career then. I mean, he's got 18, 14, 16, 19, 15, 13, 18, 11, 17, 18. I mean, that's a lot of high double-digit wins. You don't get to 270 by nothing. 18 years of being on the mound.
Yeah,
It may not have been the most impressive Hall of Fame career, but man, 270 wins, that's a lot of freaking wins in a time where you're starting to see more closers, more middle relievers, yada, yada, yada.
I think it's baseball just letting anybody in and telling, a guy like Roger Clemens, oh, well, you're not getting in. You played on the same team during the same time. We're going to let this guy in before we let you in, and you had like fucking 300 wins.
And just to clarify here, because you keep saying baseball, it's the baseball writers that do the voting, which I think is silly.
They're probably all in on it together. It's all a mafia. Baseball and the baseball writers. Maybe.
I would not be surprised if baseball exerts a certain amount of influence over the writers. But it is the writers ultimately that vote.
Yeah.
It's it's a tricky thing. I think there's always going to be players that are close that get in. There's always going to be players that are close that don't get in. Kurt Schilling, he's been on the ballot for 5 or 6 years now. He hasn't gotten in. I think he may get in eventually. I actually think Roger Clemens will get in eventually. I don't think Barry Bonds will. I think Barry Bonds, again, there's a little bit of that personality thing there, right? Where Roger Clemens, I think, was better with the media, was more loved by the media, whereas the media always vilified Barry Bonds. Some of it through his own doing, but they just did not like Barry Bonds.
You know what's crazy? Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez, right?
Rodriguez
all
isn't getting in,
all
right?
accused of taking steroids and shit like that. They were so good that I don't think they needed steroids. They were so good before all that I really believe they didn't need to do that. If they did.
When does A-Rod come on the ballot? Is it next year?
Probably like in 3 years. He's been out of baseball, what, 2?
Has it been
2 or 3?
2?
2 or 3? So a couple years.
That'd be an interesting one. I don't think there's any chance he's getting in.
I don't think he gets in.
And quite frankly, if he got
Not
in...
on the first ballot.
If he got in before Clemens, that would be a travesty. Because, what we know about Clemens is some guy claims he shot him in the butt with some steroids. He's never admitted it, and he's never failed the test. Barry Bonds admitted it. It didn't fail the test. But A-Rod got suspended twice. So if he got in, yikes. Moving on to modern day baseball, looks like we may have something going in the AL Central finally.
Finally.
I mean, the Indians are playing good ball. Minnesota's still playing good ball, but they've cooled off a little bit. It's down to 3.5 wins. 3.5 wins. 3.5 games right now.
Yeah, it's nice to see because most of the divisions are pretty much
over.
So,
the wild card races will be more interesting than the division races. No,
God, the Hall of Fame is so fucking stupid. It's retarded. I hate it. I really hate it. Except for Roy Halladay, Rivera getting in. Everybody else, it's just stupid. It doesn't carry any more weight like it used to. Like it's like whatever. There's no
the people that contract Hall of Famers to give speeches would beg to differ because they have to pay a lot more for a guy that puts HOF at the bottom of his name than guys that don't.
I guess. I don't know. It's just stupid.
I'm trying to move on here because you're too hurt by this.
Yeah, because it's retarded. That's all I gotta say.
I disagree with you. I think it's a great achievement. There's always going to be guys. Look, if there's 100 guys that belong in the Hall of Fame, we're always going to talk about number 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100, and 101, 102, 103, right? We're always going to talk about those guys right on the cut line, about whether they should get in or not. I can see the argument both ways, but at the end of the day, they were still exceptional players. The ones that got in were
exceptional great. Shouldn't get you into the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. Great should get you into the Hall of Fame.
I agree with that.
I
agree with that. But at the same time,
we're talking about the Hall of Fame.
Let's not talk about Harold Baines like he's garbage.
This is the Hall of Fame. This is where you get remembered for all of your achievements. What the hell has Harold Baines achieved?
Well,
what has he achieved?
As a player?
As a player, as whatever. What was he the greatest citizen in Chicago that got him into Hall of Fame? I don't know. The Hall of Fame needs to redefine the credentials to get into the Hall of Fame.
Well, he had 2,800 hits, 384
not 3,000,
384 home runs,
not 400,
and he batted .289.
That's terrible.
22-year career.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's not.
I think people are given the 20+ year career too much validation. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just too much credit for
His OPS 820. Yeah. I don't know. Still great. A great career. Good job by him. Good for him that he's in.
Yeah, it just sounds like we're letting anybody in at this point.
Well, again, we're not because we didn't let Kurt Schilling in.
Right, so let's let in this exceptional player in first, and
Well, do you think Kurt Schilling was great?
Let's see his
216 wins.
6-time All-Star Silver Slugger, Harold Baines.
6-time
All-Star.
Oh, okay, that's good.
And Silver Slugger.
And the Silver Slugger. What is the Silver Slugger for? Do you know?
That's all that's on his resume. I mean, that's not fucking impressive at all. I'm sorry. And he was a DH. So he played half the time also. Okay.
Well, he was a right fielder mostly.
Well, I don't know.
In the latter part of his
career, they have him positions DH and then right fielder.
Yeah, he
not
was
right fielder and then
mostly
DH.
a right fielder.
I don't know, man. I think it. I don't know.
Anyway,
what's his WAR? 38.7.
38. That's not great.
Is it? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't follow
for a career. I don't think that's great.
I don't really. I don't put much emphasis on WAR.
Well, it's the new stat. You got to get with it, bro.
Yeah, I'm out of the what do you call it?
Game?
The StatCast and all that yin yang stuff. He didn't even finish top 5 in MVP in a year. Top 20, top 10.
Top 20 is pretty
top
good.
Top 13. I mean, come on, man. This is. There's no way. God, I hope.
What years did he play?
He played 1980 through 2001.
Okay,
that's a long ass career.
That's not that long ago.
What was his career high in home runs? 29.
He only had 384.
Only.
Yeah, those are not the most impressive numbers. I don't know. The Veterans Committee voted. That's the other weird thing, right? So if you go through the 15 years on the ballot, on the regular ballot, and don't make it, then they ship you over to the Veterans Committee, and then you got 10 years to make it there. What's the? I don't understand what the difference is. Is it a different group of voters?
Yeah, the veterans. They go to IHOP and vote.
I don't know how that works.
No, honestly, that right there should not. I have an issue with that. No, look, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Look, hold on. I think you're misconstruing this conversation. I'm not arguing that he's great and he got in. I'm arguing that the Hall of Fame is not a fraud. It's not, it is a great achievement. Most of the guys that are in, 99.9% of the guys that are in, are great players that deserve to be in. It's great that we celebrate them. Does an occasional Harold Baines get in? Yes. Is it unfortunate? Yes. But I'm not looking at Harold Baines. I'm looking at the other 99.9%. You have chosen to dismiss the Hall of Fame completely because of Harold Baines.
Well, I mean, no, not only Harold Baines, but I mean, just that players that are getting in. I think baseball and the writers just need to come up with metrics, right? Before, I agree with you. The game has changed, right? Before there were credentials. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's hard.
You had to have 300 wins. Right. You had to have 500 home runs. Well, right. Okay. Well, if the game has changed, then let's bring down the credentials. 250 wins. Right. 450. I mean, I don't know. Whatever they want it to be.
No, I think that's a good point.
And just do it that way because then at some point we're just letting players in,
players that are just slightly above average,
that had long careers. And I'm sure Harold Baines worked very hard on his baseball career prior to his major league career and during his major league career, because I mean, to play 23 seasons, I mean, there's no knock on that. I mean, he put in his work, but I mean, was it considered the greatest hitter, was he considered a great hitter, a great slugger?
I wish that, to me, it's very simple. When you give me a name, if I close my eyes, do I think he's if I close my eyes and I picture him as a ball player, do I think he's a Hall of Famer? Right? Like that's how I do it.
Right.
I don't even really look at numbers. I just think to myself, I follow the game pretty closely. And now we're talking about guys that were in my lifetime, right? So I can close my eyes and remember watching him on TV. Was he a Hall of Famer, right? And obviously when I close my eyes and I look at Mariano Rivera, Hall of Famer. When I close my eyes and think Harold Baines, no, I don't think Hall of Famer. And to be fair, with Mussina I do. Edgar Martinez I have a little bit of a problem with because he played half the game. And the DH has been around for a long time. And granted, he's probably the best DH hitter ever. But there is a certain advantage to only playing half the game. Like, I don't think it's fair to compare him. And he has the numbers, but DHs in general, you got to compare. If you compare him with the population of players who play the game, both sides, right? Man, it's tough to not discount his numbers a little bit.
I hear you on Edgar Martinez, but Mike Mussina only pitched every 5 days, right?
Right, but that's the way starters work,
okay.
Right? And it's the same thing with
I know,
closers.
I understand, but again, if the credentials are 300 wins to get into Hall of Fame,
but Alex,
Mike Mussina doesn't meet those credentials, and he doesn't play every day. He pitches every 5 days.
Right, but we're comparing him to other starting pitchers who also pitch every 5 days. Edgar Martinez is going in for his batting statistics, and you're comparing him to guys like, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head from his time, Fred McGriff, who Fred McGriff played first base for a lot of years. And I understand Edgar Martinez's numbers are better. I'm not making the argument, but I'm saying you do have to, I think, as a voter, I would discount someone who was strictly a DH. Not completely, but you got to take something off of that, right? Because those numbers wouldn't be what they are if they played the entire game, so to speak.
That's not true.
Like other people in their era.
His numbers would be the same. When he's on the field, it has nothing to do with his batting stats. They really don't.
I understand that, Alex, but you have to understand that there is a certain physical demand to go out to the field every inning and then come in and hit, as opposed to sitting in the shade in the dugout and being able to hit off the tee in the back and then come out 4 times a game and hit. There's a different physical demand, right? Would he have the same longevity if he played every day out in the field? There's a reason guys as they get older switch over to play to DH only, right? It's to prolong their career. We've heard that, more than once.
Yeah.
Anyway, you keep going back to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because it's really annoying. That's why it's annoying. I mean, I'm annoyed. I don't care who gets into the Hall of Fame at this point.
You're annoyed.
It's like whatever. I think it's all. It's not. It's just the metrics aren't set up right.
Well, there are no metrics, right?
There were.
There's never officially been metrics.
There were, because people who were winning less than 300 games and hitting less than 500 home runs weren't getting in. So it was one of the unwritten rules of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Which baseball is,
notoriously
baseball's all about unwritten rules. Hey, speaking of unwritten rules, what is the rule when a pitcher yells "fuck you" to your dugout and he's a closer? He's not going to bat. Who do you take it out on then? Did you see this last week?
No. Wait, are you talking
about
CC Sabathia? I know you said closer, but are you talking about CC?
No,
Oh, okay,
closer.
okay.
The guy from the Phillies, I forget his name, but he closed out a game against the Dodgers last week.
Okay.
And after the game, very clearly looked at the Dodgers dugout and yelled, "Fuck you." Now, he's a closer. He's never going to bat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the chances of him batting against the Dodgers are minuscule. So how do you handle that? Because there's got to be an unwritten rule somewhere that you can't say "fuck you" to my bench.
Well, if I'm the Phillies, I tell that closer, you better go over there to that dugout and apologize, because if one of our players gets hit, you're not getting a repercussion for it, right?
Like if I'm Bryce Harper,
yeah,
I'm pissed.
And if I'm the Dodgers, I hit their best player.
You think that's the way to go? Their best player, not another pitcher.
I mean,
Nola comes up to bat next time, you beat him.
I wonder why did he say why? I mean,
he didn't say. Well, he said it was just the emotion of the game, and he didn't mean anything by it.
I don't think that warrants a beanball. You know,
I think it does.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't know who to hit. You know, like if I'm a pitcher for the Dodgers, the next time I face the Phillies, right, and Harper comes up, I'm like, right before I pitch, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I have to do this.
Well, I mean, Harper would be the guy to hit just because, you know, he's Bryce Harper.
He's the face of Philadelphia.
He's getting paid all those millions and not doing shit.
I don't have a problem with the beating so long as they don't throw it at his head.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
But yeah, I thought that was funny, and my first thought when I saw that was, well, who the hell are the Dodgers gonna hit?
Huh.
Speaking of hitting people or just oddball stuff in baseball, I mean, you said this on Twitter this week, and I think a lot of America feels this way. Aaron Boone is now everyone's favorite manager, or a lot of people's favorite manager. He just moved up on the list. That was a classic rant.
I mean that we had 2 rants last week. It was Kapler had one.
I didn't see that one.
They were going back and forth. The Dodgers were hit, you know, and the Phillies hit each other or whatever, and Kapler went out there and he got a pretty good rant in. But I mean, Savage Boone just really.
The Boone one was, and my favorite part was not calling his players savage. It's when he started clapping his hands.
Yes,
get your shit together.
That umpire probably felt the size of an ant at that point.
Well, you know, and hats off to the umpire because he threw him out.
Yeah.
And then he let him say his piece,
right.
And he didn't say a word to him. He just let
him. He said one thing, and I really wonder what he said. I don't know if Boone like spit on him because he kind of did.
He's like, you know.
I don't know what he's. I don't know
what he said. Don't get that close to me.
But
that's one of the best rants I've seen in a long time.
Terry Collins had a good one back when the year after Utley took out Tejada.
Right, but yeah, that one was a classic as well. But managers don't rant nearly as much as they used to.
Well, no, because you got these these umpires that are quick to throw you out.
You know who had?
Hold on a second. See, did you see the pitches that Boone was arguing?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I just saw the rant. That was the only part worth
the rant was the best part out of everything. But I think part of the reason that umpire stood quiet was he must have known, man. I mean, if you go back and look at these pitches,
were they low?
They were. I mean, look, they have this little strike zone rectangular thing.
You know it's not. You know that thing's not accurate, right?
It's not.
No. Have you ever gotten a good look at it? The strike zone is from the letters to the knees.
Right.
That little box that ESPN puts on there is lower than that.
Well, I haven't noticed that, but I mean, if we're going by that strike zone, I mean, those balls are right on the black. I mean, you know what?
What are you complaining about?
What do you mean? Who's complaining about?
Boone, what are you complaining about? They're right on the black.
No, well, yeah, no, I give him a complaint. I mean, they're right there.
They're on the black. It's a strike.
It's a strike. They were being called balls.
Oh,
yeah.
No, wait a minute. That can't be because Gardner's the one that struck out.
Okay. Was it?
So you're saying the umpire was calling them right?
I don't know. No. He must have been calling them balls. No, he must have been.
No, he's calling them strikes.
He was calling them strikes?
Yeah.
No.
And then he goes, that guy's a good pitcher, but my guys are savages. I like the way he kind of gave the pitcher some props. Hey man, you're good too, but my guys are great. Get your shit together.
Boy, I'll give him I'll give him credit for sticking up for his players like
Next
that.
time you're at work and someone's just not doing their shit, you walk into their office and go, get your shit together. You're doing a crappy job today.
Jeez.
My paperwork is savage.
Savage.
Let's see, who else? AJ Hinch, is it AJ Hinch? the manager for the Astros.
Yeah.
He had a good point because, and this is one of these things that this is like the VAR and the Hall of Fame for you. I hate these warnings that umpires give. Look, if you throw at a guy, whether it's the first pitch of the game or 17 guys have been hit during the course of the game, if you throw at a guy intentionally, then it is your right as the umpire to throw him out. You don't need to give out warnings. And the guy from the Angels very clearly threw at Marcinick, the guy from the Astros that took out LaCroix.
Oh, yeah.
And then the umpire does not throw him out and gives a warning. Well, fuck. I mean, that's bullshit. If the umpire thought that pitcher threw at Marcinick, then he should have thrown him out right then and there.
Right.
No warning.
Right.
And then the next pitcher that comes out hits Mike Trout. If he thinks it was on purpose, throw him out too. What is it with the warnings? Why do we have to have warnings? What are we warning people about?
That kind of goes back to Terry Collins, right? So Utley took out Tejada, right? And in the following season, the first time the Mets and the Dodgers play, Syndergaard throws behind Utley, and the umpire wastes no time in throwing Syndergaard out. And so the
umpire's right.
The other umpire intervenes and tells Terry Collins, "Look, man, you got to know with what everything would happen that this, that you do that. We have no choice but to throw you out." And I mean, I can't really argue him getting thrown out, right?
Exactly. That umpire was absolutely right. But the umpire in the Angels-Astros game didn't do that. And it was obvious what he was doing. He threw behind Marcinick. It's like, look, if you throw at somebody, you get thrown out. That's your job.
And again, it goes with baseball. Define these rules a little better. You know what I mean? Like, tell everybody, hey, you get one warning right off the bat, or there is no warning, right? You just
warning is stupid because it punishes the second team to do it.
Right.
It doesn't punish the first team, and I think there should be no warning. If you think a pitcher threw at a batter on purpose, if there's no history, but this guy got jock itch yesterday and decided he's pissed off and wants to throw at a guy, throw him out. End of story.
Yeah.
There's no need for if that's the case, why didn't the umpire warn them before the game? He knew what the history was.
Right.
He knew they had a situation. So the umpire that gets the next LA-Philadelphia game, he should warn them before the game. That way no one gets a free shot.
Right.
Otherwise, it's bullshit.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Definitely.
Well, folks, if you want to tell us your thoughts on the Hall of Fame, umpires giving warnings, or anything else about baseball or anything else, you can reach the show via email, positivesports10@gmail.com, positivesports10@gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of Happy over here, how do they do that?
That's right. Tell me on Twitter, damn it, how bogus the Hall of Fame voting is.
Dude, you know how Twitter works. You're
I don't
going to
care.
get a whole bunch of Harold Bays is the greatest DH ever.
Hell no. Nobody will say that. I guarantee you nobody will say that.
Let me open up my Twitter.
I should tweet it out right now. Catch me on Twitter, Brooklyn Gaucho 1, damn it.
And if you want to get a hold of me, you can do so on Twitter as well, at eMontana21.
Speaking of Twitter,
Go ahead.
we were on opposite ends this weekend, right? I was on vacation. You were kind of vacationing, having a good time in San Antonio. Were you having a tweet off with somebody? I've never seen you tweet this damn much. You must have been having a good old time.
I was having a good old time. I don't tweet that much, but I was. Let me tell you something.
I enjoyed reading your tweets and your videos. They were pretty good.
For people who have never been to a UFC event, and I know you've never been, right?
No, not live.
You got to go once.
Yeah.
It's an amazing production. And the energy level in the arena is fantastic.
Really?
And it just gets, you walk in and it's already kind of jacked up.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the main event, and this wasn't a great main event. I mean, no offense to Rafael Dos Anjos and Leon Edwards, but it wasn't.
Right.
But the energy level just keeps going up, and it goes, through the prelims all the way to the main card. It was fantastic. I had such a good time.
You had pretty neat seats, by the way. Unless you moved around, I don't know, but it looked like your seats were right where the fighters come out.
Well, I would move over there whenever I wanted to, but I was about the same height.
Yeah.
I was just one section over.
That's pretty sweet.
It is. It was pretty cool. My only complaint is occasionally they would like be up against the cage right in front of the camera guy, and I kept telling him to move, but he wouldn't. I kept yelling, "Down in front!" and it just didn't work. I don't understand it. But no, it was awesome. It was such a good time.
That's pretty cool.
And then here's the best part. Afterwards.
After the fights?
After the fights.
The after party.
We went down to the Fighter Hotel, the host hotel.
Oh. And
we hung out at the bar there. Okay. So we got to see all of them and then some, right? Like Tyron Woodley was not fighting, he was on the desk. We saw him.
Cool.
It was great. It was so much fun. The fighters are all, you look at them on TV and they're obviously amazing athletes, but at the end of the day, they're just hardworking people. I would say just like you and me, but maybe a little bit different. But at the end of it, they're nice people, man. They're good people. And it was great hanging out and taking pictures and, maybe having a beverage or two, or maybe 3 or 4, maybe a dozen. I don't know. There was a few.
You lose count after a while.
Yeah. Well, when you run out of fingers, it's tough. But it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. We saw a lot of obviously we saw all the guys from the card, guys and gals from the card, and man, it's a tough business. When the adrenaline wears off, and you see them afterwards, man, some of those guys they were walking and moving pretty slow.
Yeah, I bet.
It looked like it hurt.
Yeah, it looked like a good time.
Oh,
Definitely wish I would have gone.
It was fantastic. UFC San Antonio was a good time. Not a good time for our friend Juan Adams. Yeah, he had a rough night. He lost to Greg Hardy.
I know Juan really wanted that fight.
Yeah.
He was really. Yeah. I know he's disappointed, and but he's got a good support. He's got a good support of fans out there. He's got a lot of. I go by tweeters because I'm on Twitter, and I see all the support that he has. So hopefully he bounces back from these 2 losses and gets on track because he's a good fighter. He's still young. Right, he's still young. So. But I know he really wanted this fight.
I will say this, and everybody knows I'm biased. I'm a Juan fan. He's a friend of mine. Like we talk occasionally, and I'm not his best friend on the planet, but he's a good friend of mine. I texted back and forth with him an hour, maybe 2 hours after, not even an hour after the fight, and talking about going out or whatever, and he was like, "Nah, man." He goes, I'm just too bummed out. Was the moral of the story. I'm gonna stay in. So then we're hanging out at the Fighter Hotel, my buddies and I, and all of a sudden he walks through the lobby, and walk up to him, give him a big hug, and kind of chatted for a little bit. And so he chatted with us because he knew us, right? Mm-hmm. He knew me and a couple of friends I was with. But then we let him go because we figured he probably don't want to hang around much. He walked through that lobby. And he stopped and took every single picture that came up to him. Every single person that came up to him with a camera, he stopped, he took the picture, put a smile on his face, made those people's day. Because I'll tell you what, the arena was completely on his side.
Really?
Oh, yeah, the arena
was... Well, I'm not surprised, really. I mean...
The arena was cheering for him and actively booing Greg Hardy.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. But yeah, he stopped and took every single picture. I mean, and I thought, obviously I know how disappointed he was because I had that exchange with him, and I thought, man, he's a better man than me because I don't know that I would have stopped for every picture. I think I would have, kind of casually walked away from a couple. And,
you know what I would have done? I would have taken like 100 pictures of myself, it's like selfies before the fight, just in case I lost, right? And if I was that bummed, I'll just hand them out. Here's a picture. Yeah. I'll sign it. Here we go.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But it was such a good time. It was so much fun. Yeah. So,
it looked like it was.
So That was a small event. So my suggestion to you:
go to a big event.
If you get I can't imagine what a big event
in Vegas.
A Vegas event must be unreal.
Seriously.
But yeah, if you get the chance, bro, definitely go because the atmosphere is electric. It's such a good time. So hats off to all the winners. I actually hung out with Walt Harris for a while, who won in 12 seconds.
Damn.
Yeah, that guy is. I mean, it's crazy how big those guys are. And I mean, I'm not a little guy, but I'm not a big guy.
Well, you're little compared to them.
Yes. I'm not little. I'm skinny.
You're
scrawny.
Scrawny.
Compared to them, scrawny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how thick they are.
Yeah.
You got anything else, buddy?
No, I think that's it.
What episode is this?
We're gonna 84.
That's easy.
A wide receiver.
All right, I'm gonna go first because I've only got one.
Okay.
Antonio Brown, man.
Antonio Brown. I can't think of
another
84. I can't think of one. We're gonna have to start talking football pretty soon, man.
It's right around the corner.
It's gonna start heating up. OTA's coming up.
It's right around the corner.
End of July. Odell Beckham talking shit on the Giants. I love it, man. I love it.
Who cares? He's gone.
I love it.
He's Cleveland's
I find it funny that he's just, wants to, run his mouth. But you kind of figured it was going to happen at some point.
I mean, a guy who runs his mouth all the time is going to run his mouth about his ex.
Right. But it doesn't happen when you get with your new wife, right? It happens a little bit after, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
months
true.
After you get with your new wife,
I guess.
Yeah?
But Odell gonna Odell, man.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. He can have fun in his 4 or 5 wins. The same amount of wins he had with the Giants in Cleveland. So,
I tell you what, that guy, I don't know as a person, right? But that guy is an incredible athlete.
Oh, yeah.
I went to a Giants game 2 years ago, I think it was. And just what he did during warm-ups was worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I mean, he does the same thing during the games. Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. But,
I mean, he was catching balls one-handed behind his back.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, no problem. Crazy.
Yeah?
Crazy. What number is he? I can't remember.
13.
13. Yeah, we passed him a long time ago. All right, bro. Let's wrap this puppy up. Another wonderful episode of the Positive Sports Podcast done and dusted. As always, thank you very much for your viewership, listenership, however you consume the podcast. You can find our podcast on YouTube, Podbean, Google Play, iTunes, all those neat platforms. Enjoy. It feels like it's been a long time since we did this, but I almost forget how to end it because it feels like a long time, but I guess a lot has happened because we've been on vacation away or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, we just did one exactly a week ago.
I know,
but it did feel
probably because we did more this week than normal, right?
Could be.
The vacation.
Could be.
Anyway, as always, folks, ignore the negativity. Be the positivity.
Peace.